He's a neutral guy.
Yeah.
Because he is who he is because of how he's designed, but he's neither. He's not against.
What surah are we on, Hafsa? Surah number?
He looks up to now. No, you don't have my water. He was abused by the aliens.
Surah number 100. God, Al-Adiyat. Please open to Surah number 100, please. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. Surah number 100, Al-Adiyat. Just make sure you have it open and then tell me if anybody needs time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Wal-Adiyati Dabha, by the racers panting. So in the first few ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking qasam, swearing by different types of horses. He's swearing by different types of horses. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by things, it's because they're special and they carry some significance. Horses were very significant to the people of that time, to the Arabs of that time. It was a symbol of status. It was something of strength. So much so that when the Muslims used to go out for expeditions and battles and jihad, that when the spoils of the war were distributed, everybody would get one share, but somebody who had a horse would get 3 shares, 1 for them and 2 for the horse. Because horses were powerful and they'd help you win. So horses were very significant. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is swearing by different types of horses. So one of Al-Adiyat is a type of horse that is a racer, it runs. فَالْمُرِيَاتِ قَدْحًا, and the producers of sparks when striking. So when horses run very fast, you see on their hooves, when they strike like rock, you'll see sparks because their hooves are metal or iron, right? The shoes, I'm sorry, not the hooves, the shoes, yes. The horseshoes, they're iron, and they're striking against rock, so you'll see sparks, especially at night. فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا, and the chargers at dawn. The word mughirat is the plural of mughira, which means someone or a horse or a person who charges. And so these are the horses that were used for attacking and invading. So if they wanted to, attack a certain place, those are the certain horses that were used. فَأَثَرْنَ بِهِ نَقْعًا, the striking up clouds of dust thereby. فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا, arriving thereby in the center collectively. So they would charge and then come to the center of whatever meeting point they were, and they would meet there. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, as He has in many of the surahs, swears by things which have some significance. Like He swears, وَالشَّمْسِ وَدُحَاهَا, by the sun. وَالدُّحَا, the time, the morning time. وَالْقَمَرْ, by the moon. وَالنَّجْمِ, by the stars. وَالْعَصْرِ, by the time. So He swears by these things to show the significance and to call our attention to what comes next. Now, one thing I'd like to point out here, and I know I've pointed it out before, but I'll remind everybody, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can swear by His creation. But we cannot swear by His creation. If we need to take a qasam, if we need to take an oath, we do it by Allah's name alone. This is established from the authentic prophetic narrations, authentic hadiths, that we only swear by Allah alone. You had a question.
So why is he swearing by horses and stuff?
To call our attention to it. The rules don't apply to him, right? Because if we're swearing by something, it's a form of us, we're calling too much importance to something, when we should only be swearing by the name of Allah.
Right.
That's the most important thing we can bring to our tongue. And when we swear by the name of Allah, we should have the fear inside of us that whose name am I taking, right? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he doesn't swear by something greater than him, obviously. He doesn't greater than him. But he swears by the things that he can call our attention towards, or things that are significant. So the reason he swears is that it takes a qasam is to call our attention to something, and then he brings something that's very important right afterwards. And with the thing that's very important right afterwards is what? Innal insana li rabbihi lakanud. Indeed, mankind is ungrateful to his Lord. Indeed, mankind is ungrateful to his Lord. So he set this all up to remind us how ungrateful we are. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us so many things without us even asking for it. Whatever we needed to live, he gave it to us for free. For example, nobody has to pay to breathe. If air, oxygen was in the hands of corporations, people would be choking to death because they would put rates on it and people wouldn't be able to afford it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave it to us free. Water he made abundant. It's available for, except in very extreme circumstances, but for pretty much everybody, water is abundant. And even food, there's so much of it. Like how many times that we don't even want the food and somebody's offering us something. And we have to say, no, brother, I've eaten, I'm done. So alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us so much. Our eyes, the scientists and doctors and pharmaceutical companies can do everything they want. They can't produce an eye. The clarity that's in our own eye, you can have the best iPhone, the best cameras, you cannot get that clarity that you have in your own eye. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us all of these things, and we're still ungrateful to him. And how are we ungrateful? Because people set up partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us all of these things, and then we go and worship something else. Or we go and worship something with Allah, that thing that hasn't created anything for us. And you have to remember, this was being revealed to who? The people at that time who were worshiping idols. And those idols gave them nothing, but they worshipped them. And this is how they were ungrateful. Also, how are we ungrateful to Allah? By disobeying him, by sinning, by not following the way of the Prophet, and not following the way of these are ways of showing ungratefulness. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us everything, we should obey him. So he says, Innal insana li rabbihi lakanud. Indeed, mankind is ungrateful to his Lord. Wa innahu ala dhalika la shahid. And indeed, to that he is a witness. To that he's ungrateful, he's a witness to it. His speech, his actions bear witness to the fact that he's ungrateful. The one thing goes wrong, and we start complaining that we never had anything. Right? Our actions. That when it's time to worship Allah, we're not there. We're not giving our time and our attention to salat, to the good deeds that we're supposed to be doing. Another way of showing ungratefulness. And our own actions and our own speech are witnesses to this. وَإِنَّهُ لَحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيدٌ. And indeed, he's in love with his wealth intensely. Indeed, he's in love with his wealth intensely. Because when we love this dunya, and we love this wealth, then we really can't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala properly. Because this deen, requires sacrifices. I'll say maybe you can go. This deen requires sacrifices, and if we love this dunya too much, we love this world too much, we won't be able to make those sacrifices. Once again, there's nothing wrong with earning money. There's nothing wrong with even being wealthy, having a great house, you can be a millionaire. But there's a difference between being wealthy and loving your wealth. You'll see poor people who love their wealth. That they don't have much, but they love it. And the signs of loving your wealth is that you're obsessed with it. You're counting it. You're obsessing over how to keep making more. And if you lose a little bit, you're depressed over it. And this is your only focus throughout your day. This shouldn't be our focus throughout the day. This should be something that we're doing. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses with us, great. And we have to observe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rules and regulations and his bounds as far as what is halal and what's haram, what is permissible, what's forbidden. Especially when with what we're earning. Because if we're earning haram and feeding that to ourselves and our family, then what are we doing? أَفَلَا يَعْلَمُ إِذَا بُعْثِرَ مَا فِي الْقُبُورِ. But does he not know that when the contents of the graves are scattered, وَحُصِّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ, and that is within the breasts, within the chests, that is obtained. The secrets that we hide within our chest, when those come forth. So this is all talking about what? When the contents of the graves are brought out and the secrets of our chest are brought forth. This is reminding us of the Day of Judgment. This is reminding us of the Day of Judgment. We talked about this contrast Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings many times. On one hand, you have the love for the dunya, and the other hand, you have the love for the afterlife. There's a contrast between the two. Because if you love the dunya, you're going to end up forgetting the afterlife. Inna rabbahum bihim yawma idhil la khabir. And indeed, their Lord with them that day is fully aware. He's fully aware. So there's nothing that we can hide from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's nothing that's going to be forgotten. Everything will be brought into account. And it is His mercy what He forgives. But we need to prepare ourselves as if everything is going to be brought into our account, because nothing is forgotten. So this surah, once again, very much like Surah Takathur, which preceded it, Surah Zalzala. Actually, Surah Takathur is, Surah Takathur, which is, we read a couple, and Surah Qariya, and then next week we'll read Surah Zalzala. They really just talk about the afterlife and our relationship with that, and making the sacrifices in our dunya so that we're prepared for the afterlife. So that is Surah Adiyat. Does anybody have any questions? No, you understood everything? If I gave you a test on this surah, you'd pass? Maybe that's the next quiz.
What?
I'm not looking at you. I'm not saying anything. I'm not pointing anybody out.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're sitting between them and me, so I mean,
I don't look at him, I look at you.
all right.
I have a question. What's
The basketball, yeah, I think brother Lukman had he was doing a basketball camp this week, so this is the remnants of that. And I didn't think to take it down. I think it's a nice backdrop, actually.
I have a for your basketball.
No, it's brother Lukman. He runs a camp for the kids, so mashallah. So we're in the month of Zulhijjah. The moon was sighted last night. So today is the first of Zulhijjah. So the 10th of Zulhijjah will be Eid al-Adha. And Sister Khadija is mad at me because I'm discussing slaughtering animals again. And
He wants to buy one to be slaughtered too.
What?
You said that.
I said I'm going to give him money.
Yeah.
And yeah, but stuff for law.
so
What I said.
So Eid will be on the 10th of Zulhijjah. Eid Salat, I'm sure, will be announced in all the masajid. So you can, go whatever you're comfortable with. Same type of salat as we had in Eid al-Fitr, where you go early in the morning, and on the way to the Eid prayer, you read the takbirat, and go for Salat al-Eid. The first 10 days of Zulhijjah are important days. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Wal Fajr wal Layal Ashri wal Shaf'i wal Watr. Remember, I talked about him swearing. He swears by Fajr, the time of Fajr, and he swears by the even and odd days. And those are referring to the 10 days of Zulhijjah. There's a hadith that says that there's no deed that's more valuable than the deeds that are done in the 10 days of Zulhijjah. So fasting, taking time out to read Quran, doing any extra good deeds are more valuable in these 10 days than in other days. And according to a lot of the scholars who explain it, they said the 10 days of Zulhijjah are the most important 10 days of the year, and the nights of Ramadan are more important than nights. So the nights are more important, and in Zulhijjah, the days are more important.
So the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah are more important than the last 10 nights of Ramadan.
So listen to me again. The days of Zulhijjah are the most important days of the year. The nights of our last 10 nights of Ramadan are the most important nights of the year. So these are important days. They're important for us to do good deeds as much as we can. As we mentioned in the group chats, and I'll remind you, if you have intention to sacrifice, please pay attention, Abdullah. If you have intention to sacrifice, you do not cut your hair or cut your nails until your sacrifice is done. What else? What else goes on the first 10 days?
Does that include when you just send money to have it done?
Yes, because you're still doing a sacrifice.
It's your intent, like if you could do it yourself, you would, so you're the sacrificer. So you're the sacrificer.
You're the one sacrificing for the sake of Allah. Okay, if you didn't know, that's fine. I mean, just don't do it again in the next 10 days. It doesn't invalidate your sacrifice or anything like that, but just don't do that again. So another thing that's masnoon, which means that the sunnah, that is something rewardable, is reading the takbirat throughout the first 10 days of Zulhijjah, which is Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Walillahi alhamd. And just reading that over and over again. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma and Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, they're two great companions. They used to go out in the marketplace and read these out loud so that people would be reminded to read them as well. So it's something that we should read and benefit from. The days after Eid are called Ayyam al-Tashriq, which are the 11th, 12th, and 13th of Zulhijjah. Those are also considered days of Eid. You can make sacrifice on those days. If you weren't able to do it on the day of Eid, you're able to make sacrifice on those days as well. And those are also days of eating and drinking. We're not allowed to fast in those days. And we also keep reading the takbirat in those days as well.
So
Yes.
however, we can still fast 13, 14, 15, right?
No, you can't fast the 13th.
Okay.
Of Zulhijjah, you can't fast the 13th. The 14th and 15th you can fast, but not the 13th, because the 13th is still one of the days of Ayyam al-Tashriq.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, because at the masjid today, he said that the imam said that it's beneficial to us to fast the 13, 14, 15 as well. That Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
In general months, right?
No. He said in accordance. So after the 10 days,
No, you can't fast on the 13th.
the
13th is Eid, right?
13th is still considered on the day, the Yom Tashriq. The Yom Tashriq are the days when the Hajjaj stay at Mina, are the days of the people who stay at Mina, right? So that's the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. The 13th, you can't fast. I'll give you the reference for it, inshallah, as well. That's why imams have to be careful what they're saying. Any other questions on the days of Zul-Hijjah? What else do I need to mention? We talked about sacrifice, right? What animals to sacrifice, everything like that, right? I went and bought my animals yesterday. There's a brother who has a farm out. Where is it? No. It's past Dinwiddie. No. It was past Hopewell. It was way past that. DeWitt. It's past Dinwiddie. It's like south of Petersburg. It's about an hour from here. But he has a lot of sheep and goats. If anybody's interested in going there, I'll share the flyer in the group. The rates are reasonable as well. We will also be praying Eid Salat there.
Where?
At the farm. Yeah. Shed Jalal will lead the Eid Salat. So, yeah, we arranged that yesterday. We'll get that flyer out as well. 8 o'clock. Huh?
No, but she can do it after the fact. If she-
Yeah, we will.
I'm not sticking around for none of that. No, ma'am.
So, but yeah, we'll pray on the. We can.
They haven't passed it around this year.
The last year, I only knew.
Yeah, last year the sheep ran away from MCC. You know.
But it wasn't,
Whose fault
but
was
it
that?
wasn't,
Whose fault was that?
Yours. You were supposed to hold the door shut.
Was it his fault?
Yeah, he was holding the gate
no,
shut.
but what can you do against 3 200-pound animals?
Those are big sheep.
Yeah, it shouldn't
The
be
gate's broken.
human holding the gate, yeah.
The gate's broken. I'm just like, oh, you broke the gate.
So the price of the sheep, the animals that you bought, are they like stamped, they're yours at the farm, or you?
Yeah. You write it down. Yes, it'll be yours. Yes.
Unless he runs away, I'm
I'll be part of the sheep and over the gate.
Slaughter it
Right.
back here.
Right. What am I supposed to do with that?
in my backyard.
So
I just had a cow in the front yard, and we got it from one time, and it ran away in the middle of the night.
You guys have bad luck.
no, but we got it back.
But yeah, we got it back.
Oh, okay.
We got it back.
Well, it's
Oh,
easier to get the
But
cow
never
back.
again, never again.
I don't know. The cows are pretty rough,
Yeah, but they gonna run away slowly.
and it's a city. Where is he gonna run?
Right. Someone else's house.
Yeah, but they brought him back. They
No,
yeah, they
actually,
brought him.
wasn't it like someone else was like, I think I have a video.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually someone else who was like, oh, this is yours. Yeah, they brought it back.
So Alhamdulillah, we're in the days of Eid.
Oh, your sheep this time.
What else? What else do we have to discuss about the Eid? Anything else?
How far is this place for
The slaughter about an hour from here.
can we carpool? Like, not ride the same car, but like follow?
Sure.
Sure there is an address.
Yeah, no, I'll send the address and everything out.
Okay.
Also, if anybody is interested in doing a sacrifice in Pakistan, I can arrange that. A share of a cow, what did I say, $85, something like that? $85. I'll send that information out this week. But if somebody can't afford to do an animal here and would rather go and do it that route, that's an option as well. That at least you get your sacrifice done, and it goes to people who need it. Any other questions? Any other questions away from Eid?
Done the same way.
Huh?
Eid prayer is done the same way.
Eid prayer is done the same way. The Imam will stand up and say extra Allahu Akbar 7 times extra, and then in the first rakah, and then in the second rakah, he will do the same thing, so don't be confused. Usually Eid prayer should be done outside, weather permitting. Of course, this is Virginia, it can rain at any time.
You're raining a lot. It's raining today with the sun.
What else? Anything else for Eid? Anything else other than Eid? Do you guys want to do an Eid barbecue? How do you spell takbirat? Is that right? Oh, okay. I forgot that there were people online.
Oh, there actually is somebody on
Yeah, it's the sister. I forget her name. No. It's the other one.
Amanala?
Yes. She has a difficult name.
She always joins.
Yeah, Molly and Walker. Her screen name is Molly and Walker. There's two people online actually. MashaAllah.
Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Everybody's saying salam to you, sister.
We miss you and your patros, bison.
Oh, yeah, her nice and hot rooms.
I made that recipe at home. I found the recipe on not bison, but I made it for me. It was the same. It's called the Mississippi buffalo.
She's saying walaikum salam to everybody. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order today? Do we want to read in our book or no?
Yeah.
It's a new chapter. Oh, I have books for you guys. Sometimes I get free books. So why don't you open that at your sister's? Sometimes people send me free books, so they're available to you folks. It's 30 hadiths for beginners. It's actually a book we can go through together at some point. They're really beneficial. He chose those hadiths that are beneficial for people starting out.
And it's like
Plenty of
it's like a workbook.
books.
Yeah, we got, yeah.
Oh, box, 2 boxes.
Oh, I started from the wrong side. It's this side. Yeah, why did it the English one?
I have so many books.
This is hadith one.
From the beginning, American.
Which is so weird, because I was opening up the right side. Oh, I have a little Western sauce.
Yeah, this is a book we can go through as well. After we're finished with our new Muslim guide.
After we finish it, we just pick up a book, right, and then just, it's gonna be easier. And go through that.
Yeah, I also wanted to do, there's another book, The Pillars of Islam and Iman, that I want to go through as well. Let's see, how far, we don't have much left in this book, do we? All right. We should be finished with this soon, inshallah. All right, so we are on page 172. Please open your books, page 172. We'll read for about 10 minutes so we get maybe 1 page or 2 pages in. 1.5 probably. So we've gone through the Islamic belief system. We've gone through the 5 pillars in some detail in this book already. So now the author introduces other subjects that are important, like your financial transactions, your food and drink, your dress code, marriage and family, and all these other things you need to know about Islam as well. Because of course we know Islam is a deen, it's a way of life, and it's not only um, limited to our acts of worship, our direct acts of worship, right? Um, Islam puts a very big emphasis on our relationship with this dunya and earning the dunya in a permissible way. We've seen that many times mentioned in the surahs that we've read so far. So, we're on page 172. Who would like to read?
Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands and encourages Muslims to earn their livelihood. This is clear in a number of aspects, including the following. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has forbidden us from begging as long as we are able to earn a livelihood, and informs us that those who engage in begging, despite their ability to scrape a living, lose their dignity in the sight of Allah and that of the people. A person who unnecessarily continues to beg will stand before Almighty Allah on the day of judgment without a shred of flesh on his face. He also said, if a person who is afflicted with poverty refers it to people, his poverty will not be brought to an end. But if he refers it to Allah, Allah will soon give him sufficiency. Islam respects all types of occupations in any field, trade, industry, services, investment, or in any other field, as long as they are lawful and do not involve any wrongdoing whatsoever. Indeed, Islam informs us that prophets engaged in decent occupations prevalent in their society. As the Prophet ﷺ said, Allah did not send a prophet who did not tend sheep. He mentioned once that Prophet Zechariah, may Allah be pleased with him, was a carpenter. A person who engages in an occupation with the intention of supporting himself and his family and helping the needy will be abundantly rewarded for his effort.
Okay, so um, Muslims are encouraged to earn their livelihood. Um, Islam does not encourage monasticity, being a monk and just living in the masjid and living off of the people. Islam does not encourage this. Um, it encourages us to go out, work, do what we can, provide for our families. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the best sadaqah is what? That which you spend on your family. A lot of people will spend money on other than their family and not on their family, and this is not correct. We shouldn't be stingy with our families. The author mentioned here is that we should not be beggars unless somebody has an extreme need. They should not be asking for money or asking for assistance that they could get from somewhere else by working. If we are struck with calamity, struck with a financial hardship or poverty, we should first refer it to Allah, make our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strong, and then go out and see what we can do to resolve that. All occupations that are lawful are respected in Islam. We should not look down on people because, maybe they're a laborer or maybe they're somebody who, does something that we find to be menial. If he's earning his income out of halal, there's no reason for us to look down on him. And that's what we should all be striving to do, is earn our income from halal ways. It mentions here that many of the prophets were sheep herders, right? Shepherds. Sheep herders, right? Shepherds. And one of the reasons is because it teaches a lot of patience. Some of the prophets were carpenters, right? So, it just shows us that even the greatest prophets, the greatest people, sometimes had very simple jobs, and we still respect them and we still love them and, honor them. And if you earn your living out of halal and provide to your family that way, this in and of itself is an act of worship. So for whatever hours you're at that job or attending to that shop or conducting that business, it's halal and your intention is to provide halal means to your family, then that's an act of worship as well. Any questions on that so far? Okay, let's read the next part. Brother Ali. All types of transactions are generally allowed in Islam. Second column on page 172, under the
All types
picture.
of transactions are generally allowed in Islam. All types of transactions are, as a general rule, allowed in Islam. These include selling, buying, leasing, and all kinds of transactions which people need in their everyday lives, with the exception of those things which are forbidden due to their impurity or the manner they are acquired. Things that are prohibited due to their impurity, these are things which Allah has declared unlawful due to their impurity and therefore must not be sold, purchased, leased, manufactured, or put into circulation. Examples of things which Islam has prohibited due to their impurity is the flesh of dogs and pigs, dead animals or any part of them, alcoholic drinks, drugs, and all other substances which are injurious to health, materials that aim to spread immorality, such as pornographic tapes, magazines, and websites, idols, or anything that is worshipped besides or instead of Allah. Things that are prohibited due to the manner they are acquired.
Okay, we'll get to that chapter because that's a whole chapter, so we'll get to that later. So generally speaking, all types of transactions are allowed in Islam, and this is a very general rule for anything. And I want everybody to pay very close attention to this. In general, in the matters of this world that are not direct acts of worship, everything is permissible except with that which is clearly not permissible. Everything is permissible except which has been made haram for us. So all types of business transactions are allowed except those things which have been made haram. In acts of worship, it's the other way around. You cannot do an act of worship. It's not permissible to do any acts of worship except which was taught to us. Can't just start making up acts of worship, right? But in the matters of the dunya, as far as business, as far as food, as far as travel, all these things, everything is permissible except which has been explicitly made not permissible. So he gave some example of things that are fi nafsihi, but that are by themselves haram. For example, you cannot sell pork. You cannot sell dogs. You cannot sell dead animals. Right? He mentions alcoholic drinks, drugs, things that spread immorality that are haram in other ways. Anything that promotes shirk. So, you can't make idols and sell them to people, right? So all of these types of things that are haram and encourage things that are haram, we cannot buy and sell and trade these.
It says we can't sell the flesh of dogs, right? Does that mean like the whole dog or like if they were eating dogs? Like, could I sell, if my dog had puppies, could I?
You give them away, don't sell them.
How about cats? Is it just
Cats,
dog?
cats you can buy and sell because they're permissible
Yeah.
in every way to keep them.
So if someone is a sculptor, it's haram to sell your sculpture?
If you're making sculptures of living things, if you're making a sculpture that's just a pillar, let's say, or just a design, that's fine. But if you're making a sculpture of a person, that's not permissible.
Or a bird? Animals?
Yeah,
Or what about?
living
plants?
objects. Plants are fine,
Okay.
but things that have like a soul,
A heartbeat.
a heartbeat, you could say a soul, like a person, an animal, and things like that. We shouldn't draw pictures of them, and we shouldn't be painting pictures of people or portraits or these types of things to hang in the house. These are not good for us to do. Yes, Shelby.
Isn't it like a butcher shop?
No, dead animal means like an animal that has died by itself. So an animal that's died by itself is haram, right? We cannot eat it, even if it's like a cow, right? If it's died itself by sickness or anything, or fell or drowned, we can't eat that meat anymore. So that meat is haram. We can't sell it. But if somebody sacrifices it properly and has said Bismillah and has sacrificed it, then they can sell that, obviously.
What are you to do with an animal that has died by itself?
Then you just bury it or put it in the woods or anything like that. You know, the scavengers and things will eat it, but it's not for us to eat.
Sell.
Yes, but you can take the leather. You can take the leather from it and stuff like that. Question from online. Question from online: is roadkill haram? So it depends if it has died yet. So, for example, you're driving and you hit a deer. If the deer is dead, then you cannot eat it. It's haram. But if the deer is still alive, you could slaughter it, and then the meat would be halal for you. Yeah. So as long as the halal animal that it's not dead, you can still slaughter it properly and eat it. So this is so in a more so farmers go through this sometimes. Like an animal will be injured or close to death, so they can then slaughter it and then they make it halal rather than letting it die, which wouldn't make it not permissible, haram to eat. Any other questions up to this point? All right, we will continue this chapter next week, inshallah. Um, next Friday will be the 8th of Zulhijjah. So it'll be 2 days before Eid. So if you have any other questions about Eid or anything like that, you can bring them in the group chat or next week. I think we should have class next week. There's no reason not to have class next week. Probably. Any other questions? No? Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. Oh, we have, yes. Announcements. We have the food distribution in Monroe Park every Sunday, 3:45. If anybody would like to volunteer, we always need volunteers. Please come. There's also Quran class at ICVA on Sunday, 6 to 7:30. It's an excellent Quran class. We're going through all the letters. It's excellent. Everybody who wants to learn how to read the Quran should attend. Yes, there will be a potluck next week. There's an online question. Okay. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Yeah, you'll fast next Saturday. Last but not least, I mentioned that we fast. You can fast in the first 9 days of Zulhijjah. The 9th of Zulhijjah is specifically the day of Arafah, when the pilgrims assemble at the plain of Arafah to make dua. This is a day that the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, emphasized for fasting. He said that the one who fasts the day of Arafah, it's expiation of 2 years of his sins, the previous year and the year coming. So it's an important day to fast. That will be next Saturday. And next week there will be cookies.